Welcome to the Champion Circle. I am pleased and honored to be here with you again once today. As we have in the past, we have another amazing person that we're going to spotlight, we're going to showcase, that's doing amazing work, that's becoming a change agent, that's becoming an instrument of God and making a difference in so many people's lives. And we at the Champion Circle have the opportunity to select individuals who are extraordinary. We are here because Liga de Justicia Abogados, as well as the Liga de Justicia Foundation, are supporting our endeavor. At the Champion Circle, we believe in highlighting and showcasing champions. We believe in a chosen family that comes together to make magic happen, just like in Disney. So we are happy to be here today. And today we have the opportunity to focus and to showcase and to highlight an amazing artist, someone who I hope to develop a strong bond and friendship with moving forward, but someone who has already inspired me in many different ways. So I'd like to welcome none other than Efren Andaluz, otherwise known as the artist Andaluz.
Hey, Mark, thank you for being here. It's your artist, your favorite artist, Andaluz, the artist, and we're here at the Champion Circle, and I'm very blessed. Thank you for inviting me. Truly appreciate it.
I'm equally blessed, so it's my pleasure. So we have the opportunity to tell your story. If you were as old as me, Andaluz, you would understand what "this is your life" means, right? So all the old timers who are perhaps our viewers remember a show many, many moons ago, perhaps maybe it was even in black and white, that was "This is Your Life." And it went through a person's journey. It talked about where they started, where they went, what a difference they made, and different people that were angels or change agents in their own lives and how they made change happen. So let's start with your beginning, Andaluz. Let's talk about where you're from. Where were you born, and what was your childhood like, and how did that build upon the foundation of who you are today?
Well, I was actually born in Queens at Elmhurst Hospital, home of the crazies. That's what they say. That everybody crazy was born in Elmhurst Hospital, so I'm one of them. And I grew up as a kid, like a young kid in Queens, with parents that come from immigrants. My father's from Ecuador. My mother's parents are Dominican. And so, I grew up in an environment, especially in Queens and Richmond Hill. It was so mixed. It's the most mixed place in the world.
Right.
So I just kind of looked at people as people,
Sure.
Growing up, you see a lot of things. And for me, one of the things that caught my attention as a kid was art and was graffiti and the sound of the subway, because we used to live right by a train. Right, like, so you'd hear the train tracks on Jamaica Ave. So, like, that's kind of like engraved in your head, right, and stuff that you like see on TV and in movies.
Right.
And so you would see the graffiti, in Richmond Hill. There was one mural specifically that I think inspired me to where I am today, and it was a crazy mural. I cannot find it on Google, which you could find almost anything.
Right.
I cannot find a picture.
Not even on YouTube?
YouTube, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a painting of Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and I think possibly Malcolm X. And it was just an amazing piece, and I couldn't believe someone did that with spray cans. And that still sticks with me, that image, to this day. And so, I was there till I was around 10 years old, and then my parents moved to Long Island, to Huntington, Long Island, where I lived most of my life. And that was my childhood, was in Queens, and going to Flushing Meadow Park, watching my family have barbecues and, playing soccer and, just having a good time, super soaker with your cousins and all that cool stuff that you do.
So let's go back to your Queens time. Mom is from Dominican ancestry. Dad's from Ecuador, right? Ecuadorian ancestry. How did that come into play in your household and in your life culturally? How did that play out for you?
I mean, it was normal for me, you know, still to this day. You know, I would go to school, everybody would speak to me in English, and then, you know, even my parents in the house, they would speak English, but at my grandparents' house on both sides, they would speak Spanish, and, you know, the food was always good. There was, on the Ecuadorian side, my abuela was always cooking sopa, so it was like soup even summertime, soup. It's like 90 degrees outside, and inside it's like 100 degrees.
Right.
So, but it's just part of the culture, and it's something that I grew up in, and that I didn't realize until after we moved to Long Island how much I actually missed it, and how different it was living in Queens than living on Long Island. It's like two totally different worlds, especially in Richmond Hill and Flushing and Queens Village. You know, those are the places that I kind of grew up around.
Okay. Yeah, because Queens is from what I've read, is probably the county that has the most diverse population when it comes to languages, ethnicities, religions, and all kinds of things. So you were surrounded by a lot of different kind of individuals that you grew up with, and they were part of your circle.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And you had Hindu,
Right.
you know, you had Guyanese, you had, you know, Jamaican, Haitian, you know, Latino, Dominican, Puerto Rican. Like, you had everything you could think of, all types of European descent. So it wasn't like, you know, nowadays everything, to me at least, as I'm older, and I guess sometimes when you get older you realize things that you don't realize when you're younger, but like all of this like racial talk that's going on and this divisive division that you feel today, as a kid, I know I was a kid, but I just didn't feel it. I looked at all the other kids like they were me. I had black friends, white friends, Latino. I had Indian friends. I had all types of friends that I was cool with and that I fought with because I used to fight all the time. So it was just like a regular day.
Right. So when it comes to the issue of hip hop,
That
right?
an issue?
No, well, it's an issue of I think of culture, of celebration, of a whole lot of money nowadays.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So hip hop was flourishing when you were a young person, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So how did that like get into your DNA and your blood?
You brought that up. I completely, totally forgot to even talk about hip hop.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, hip hop plays a major part in just my life in general. Growing up, I have one uncle. His name is Rich, right? And so Rich was always into hip hop. Like, he's a hip hop head, connoisseur. Like, and he was making beats. So back then, he was making beats out of cassette tapes.
Right.
And he would record the tracks with the cassette tapes. He would put the paper into the top, and he would be able to record. And then he would take that sample. I don't know. He had all these gadgets that I would mess with, and that he hated me messing with. But all you would hear from his room, because he always, till this day, locks himself in his room. All you would hear, still to this day, actually, is just bass, boom, 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 and it was just like just like the train tracks. It was part of the environment, and it was like the train tracks and the hip hop and the bass, and it was like a heartbeat to the hood, right? And it was like dun dun dun, you know, and it was just like. Naughty by Nature was actually the first. When I think of hip hop, as a kid, hearing him listening to Hip Hop Hooray, that was like the first song that really caught my attention. That I was like, yo, and it was hip hop hooray. It had all the like the elements and the vibe to it, and so that was like the start of me just taking it in, like taking it in your DNA, like breathing it. All around you that's what you was hearing. So hip hop played a major part, especially in Queens. You have some of the greatest legends. You have Nas, you have Run DMC that took hip hop from being underground to MTV to the foreground. LL Cool J. I mean, these guys are all legends. And so if you're from Queens and you grew up at that time, like hip hop is a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah. Not just Queens. I mean,
Well, the Bronx is.
You know, I got to represent the boogie down, but
the Bronx is this way.
Mad respect
started.
for Queens. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, okay, so now we transition, right? Next chapter.
Yeah.
You are transitioning. Your family moves to the suburbs. You moving on up, like the Jeffersons, right?
Yeah.
You getting a house. You getting your place. You getting your space. You getting nice parks.
Yeah.
right? You're getting quality of life.
Mhm.
You're getting a whole lot more taxes, but that's part of
Yeah.
that's part of the equation. So you're approximately 10, 11 years old. Talk to me about how that impacted you at that age. What were you thinking back then? What good experiences did you have? What not so good experiences did you have?
So when they were first, my parents were first talking about moving, right, from this house that they had for a long time in Richmond Hill, which is huge, just a huge colonial kind of house. It was like, okay, but I want to go to school here because I had all my friends.
Right,
in Queens. And so they were like, yeah, it's going to be nice. The school is amazing. But I went to school in Queens, and the schools I seen had graffiti on the walls. They were just like different, they weren't bad, but they were just different.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was, in the city just stacked up on top of each other. It's not like a long school there was no football fields. There was no baseball fields. There was a hard basketball outside street ball.
Yes, sir.
So when they were telling me I didn't want to go, I was like, yeah, well, I mean, we're moving. I can't do nothing, but I wanted to go to school in Queens. But then they brought me to see the school that I would go to. And when I seen it, I actually was like in awe because I only thought those schools were in like TV shows,
Right, the movies.
and movies. I didn't think it was a real thing, right? And that just goes to show you like a fish in a fishbowl thinks that that's all there is.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't realize there's a whole ocean, right? So, that was the first thing I seen. I was like, look, there's a baseball field, there's kickball fields, there's basketball courts, and there's no graffiti on the lockers. It was insane to me. And so I was like, all right, let's do this, right? And so I started going to the school, and at Queens, when I was in Queens, I used to get into a lot of fights, and it was just like a regular thing. It wasn't even with your own friends, we were just fighting at recess.
Right.
I don't know why.
And there wasn't any discipline issues or anything with that.
No, there was no
Right,
discipline
right.
issues. Nobody.
Right.
I never got kicked out of
Right,
school.
right.
There was one time that I think they called my parents, and I had an issue. It was because I took a kid's Hindu kid's band off his head, and his hair came down, and I didn't know. And I was in trouble for that one. Yeah, that was bad.
Okay.
But that was it. You'd get into fights, and in recess, no one said nothing to you. No one bothered you. When we get to Long Island, the second day there was a bully. I never liked bullies. Now I didn't start fights, but I never liked bullies. I always kind of try to end stuff. And he was bullying other kids, and we were playing kickball. I remember this like it was yesterday. And I get to third base because that was my position. I was there first, and he's like, "Oh, this is my position." And I was like, "No, I'm here." So he gets in my face, but he doesn't know like my mentality, and I don't know Long Island.
Right.
So it's my second day of school. You know what I'm saying? It's my second day of school, right?
Ooh.
And this goes on from that point throughout high school.
Okay.
And he walks up to me, he pushes me. So I punch him. Boom. I was always told, if you get hit, you hit someone back. And I was used to it.
Right.
So I just decked him. Bow. His glasses came off. And he started, "Oh, my glasses." And I stepped on his glasses. I should have never did that, but I did it. I stepped on his glasses broke. It was a whole big thing. He started crying, but I was confused because he was the bully. But now he's crying.
Right, playing victim now.
Yes, and I didn't understand.
Right.
I didn't understand it because where I was at before, that kind of stuff didn't happen.
Right.
So I get in trouble. I was actually confused because I was like, what the heck did I do? Why am I in trouble? And I'm in the principal's office. Second day, he's looking at me like, who the hell are you? He don't even know who I am because he's never seen me and I've never seen him.
Right.
And so they realize it's my second day. He calls my parents. My mother comes down. And that was the beginning of her always being in the principal's office for years to come.
Now, let me ask you a question. How diverse was that school as far as students or teachers? Because let me give you an example. My daughter's now in 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
My school district, she's never been taught by a teacher of color.
Yeah.
That, to me, in 2025, is mesmerizing. It's unfathomable. It's unacceptable, right?
Yeah.
But back then, I would imagine there was very little, if any, diversity. So tell me, how diverse was the school? How welcome did you feel? Did you feel ostracized? Did you feel isolated?
I automatically, I felt isolated. I felt different because I was different. Where I was coming from and my mentality was different than, the kids
City
that were already there.
and suburb, right?
Yeah.
That's a different culture.
And they're looking at me like I'm a fish out of the pond, and I'm looking at them like this is the second day I'm already in the principal's office, and I'm nervous because I've never been in the principal's office, and I've been getting into a lot of fights before. So when my mother comes down, he's talking to her, and you could tell he's aggravated. Like in his brain, I'm gonna be the biggest issue that he has to deal with. But most of the kids, it wasn't too diverse. The reality is, it was mostly white kids. There was a few black kids, a few Latinos, and a few Asians. That's all I could really remember. But it wasn't diverse. It wasn't like my other school. And I felt more out of place there, and I felt more worried there because you're right. Even the teachers, there was no. I don't remember any minority. I hate using that word, but any teacher of color teaching at that given moment in time. And I think that's also with. I think that also has to do with the demographic of who lives in the area, right? So I feel like that area is mostly, white. So you're gonna have more teachers like that.
Right. So how did your propensity or your fondness or your love of hip hop, how did that mix in with your new environment, with the new suburban culture? Were you able to bond with any young people in middle school, maybe, or even high school when it came to, your love of hip hop and the hip hop culture?
Eventually, yeah. But when I first got there, it was a lot of problems because the people that didn't know me. So no one really wanted to talk to me. And I was kind of like, I was always different. Let's just put it like that. And then you had people that were always getting into trouble in the school. The few people that were getting into trouble, they looked at me, I guess, as competition. Or when they knew I was from Queens, it was like a badge of honor to try to fight me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
right.
So it was like, oh, we're going to fight him.
Right.
So now I'm getting into fights, even though I don't want to get into fights, but I have to defend myself.
Right, sure.
To the point where I had kids come to my house, come knocking on my door looking for me. And, I'm all right, well, okay. We didn't do this again? All right. And I felt bad because, my mother was worried all the time, and it was just like, it was a lot of, I think for me, it was a lot of confusion. And I didn't fit in. So I was always drawing. And I think that helped me to be the artist I am because I always liked to draw. So when a lot of the kids were playing outside, even the kids are on the block that I lived in, I didn't want to play with them because I couldn't communicate with them. And they would tell me certain things, like some things were racist things that they would say. They would say certain things that were like, that I know I would get mad and I'm going to punch them and then I'm going to get in trouble. So I'd just stay inside.
Avoid it, right?
Yeah, and I would create cartoons and I'd create my own, I would create my own universe on the paper. And that's kind of like, that started with me kind of staying to myself, still getting to fights and creating until I eventually fought some people that became my friends because that's usually how it is after you beat someone up or they beat you up. It's like, all right, that's out of your system.
Now, sketching, artistry, your passion for the arts, because art is life, right? And it's part of that whole heartbeat that you talked about earlier. It's part of the whole, hip-hop culture, but it's also part of your DNA because it's something you've been called to do.
Yeah.
Who were you inspired with when it came to the arts or by? And when did you start sketching, and what were you doing in the beginning?
Comic books.
Okay.
All day when I was a kid. Right. Comic book.
Superhero types?
Superheroes. Ninja Turtles were, I love the Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
When I was younger, I think the original Ninja Turtle movie came out in 89, 90. I was born in 86. Right. So it was Ninja Turtle, everything. The toys were Ninja Turtles. And I was the oldest, especially on my father's side, so I would get all the toys. Like, Christmas time came, more Ninja Turtles. Smaller to bigger, like. Right. And then Batman. I love Batman. You know, Michael Keaton. That was around the time.
Yeah.
So it was Batman.
He was the
Ninja
best
Turtles.
Batman.
Oh yeah, yeah, hands down. I mean, come on. But that was like comic books. Comic books were bigger then, because you know you didn't have YouTube and all that stuff, so people were actually reading comic books. So I would just look through the comic books just at the sketching and the art, and I would duplicate it, and I would sketch it and work on it and get it better and better and better. So I think those artists helped me. Also Bob Ross, a different type of art, but I just loved watching people create. It just always like was cool to see someone create something from nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Especially with his voice, right?
Yeah.
It's
So
like,
soothing.
well, we're going to put a tree here. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was almost like hypnotizing,
Yep.
man. And his energy was like low key, but it was still like passionate at the same time, right? So, did you have any inspirational people in your family or in your life that kind of maybe passed on that talent to you through your grandparents or your parents or anything?
Yeah, so I have a few people in my family that are artistic. My grandfather was one of them. He was into drawing. He would sketch like real life stuff. He got me a lot of the books that I used to use to help me learn how to draw. So he would get me these books, sketch. He would sketch with me. He was really good at that. He also played the guitar, and he would sing. So he was like the artistic side, especially on the Ecuadorian side. They don't speak about it much, but they're very artistic. It's like in their DNA. Like that's what they have a passion for. Even when sometimes I'm in the Bronx or in Queens, and for some reason Ecuadorians in particular, they'll stop and they'll watch me, and then they'll start talking to me and talking about how they're also like art and they're interested in stuff like that. And then on my mother's side, my Uncle Robin, he used to sketch bodybuilders, and my Uncle Rich, the one with the beats, music. You see, it's like all music and art. He used to do also comic book figures, Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. So I'd watch them, and I would be inspired, and I would just do it every day. Like it was a love that I had.
That's awesome. So now you get into high school, and you graduate from sketching to what? What type of art did you graduate to? What did you start doing? What became your passion? What became your outlet?
Man, I was sketching. I love sketching, right? And so my sketching transitioned to when I got to high school. It was more about clothes, streetwear, Jordans, fitted hats that matched, jerseys. Back then, jerseys were big, big clothes.
Right.
So I was designing, sketching, like clothing brands, just my own ideas of what I think would look cool. I was creating my own logos. I wanted to learn how to make clothes. So that's where I was at with that. But I was also already talented with sketching. I didn't go to art school for it. But when I got to my art class, my teacher, Miss Amakawa, shout out to her. I'm still cool with her to this day, Verna. She was very inspirational because there wasn't many teachers that would help me. They would just look at me as if I was a problem. Or, oh, it's on the loose. He's on the loose. Like, they would always give me issues, and they would say slick stuff, but I would never disrespect my teachers. So it was always kind of weird to me that they would say disrespectful stuff to me as a student, but I wouldn't say it to them, right? And so she was one of the only ones that would take me in, even because I used to still get into a lot of fights. She would take me into the art club. Yeah, listen, it was crazy. So she would take me in when I was heated, or she see me in the hallway getting into the art room, and she would tell me to draw. And I was, I don't want to draw. But she was like, you're talented. You never even took art class, and you're drawing. And so she got me to go a few art classes, which I did. But, I only wanted to draw. I didn't want to paint, because when I tried to paint with a brush, it never came out looking how I wanted it to look.
Interesting.
And it was so frustrating. And a lot of artists have that transition where they're sketching because they know how to sketch. But any artist always starts with a pencil or a crayon. Since a kid, you only do that. So you're used to sketching. But when you use a brush, now you're blending colors with brushes. And now you're using colors, not gray tones. So I always had an issue because I didn't know, right? So I didn't want to sketch. And then it wasn't until I started to, one time I went with my family to Lake George, and it was at Six Flags where there was, I seen someone airbrushing shirts with graffiti on it. And that caught my eye. And I was like, I want to do that because it didn't look like a paintbrush. It was literally like a pen that blew out air and there was no strokes and it looked super clean. It reminded me of graffiti. So I said, I want to do that. So that's when I started to airbrush.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're airbrushing. You're kind of inspiring yourself, right? With your foundation of your hip hop kind of graffiti, tagging up kind of background. You're inspiring yourself, and now you start to inspire others. Apparently, you make a business out of this. Is that correct?
Yeah, it quickly actually. I started practicing with the airbrush, and it was very quickly that I got used to the airbrush. Because when I do something, like when I'm in tune, everything else is gone. So you ask anyone that knows me, if I say I'm gonna do something, and it's gonna get done. Like I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it and do it and do it. So that's what with the airbrush. The first week I got it, it was frustrating, but I have to figure it out. Have to have steady hands. You know, you have to pull back the trigger. It's very complicated. It's like using an instrument. But when I started getting used to it, I remember the first piece I did was a Tupac Shakur piece. So it goes back to hip hop.
Yeah, man.
Tupac portrait.
Right.
Came out decent.
Okay.
Right? And I was like, wow, this is pretty good. But some of my friends, I went to high school, my shirts, sporting my shirt. Some people were like, yo, that's cool. But other people were used to seeing professional airbrush artists that's been doing this for years. You go to Jamaica Ave,
Right.
they had the t-shirt guys. And they have these like amazing pieces, and they're looking at mine, they're like, so you have the other kids that are like, yo, this is trash. Don't just give up. You know, and there's a lot, and it's unfortunate because when you go to high school or sports, other kids talk to you like that.
Right.
And if you're not mentally prepared, you're just going to give up because you think you're not good enough. But I don't know what it is. My parents instilled in me, but it was always like, no, I'm going to do this. Like, it's going to get done. So when they're like, oh, this is trash, you should give up. That was the battery in my back. Like, I'm coming back tomorrow with a better shirt. And then the next day I did a Bob Marley shirt. It was better than the Tupac shirt. Then I did a 50 Cent shirt. And then I started adding rhinestones and glitter and gel because my hands weren't smooth enough. So I used gel to make clean. And I figured out how to create something. And when I was doing it, then I had the teams, the spirit teams of, you know, Spirit Week and, you know, the Step Team and the Latin Heritage Club asking me for shirts. And then I started making some money off these shirts. And from high school, I was used to just saying, hey, I painted this, but I have to now sell it. I have to let it go. So I was used to, like some artists now, when they paint something, they're like, no, it means so much to me. For me, it's just art at this point. I'm used to, since high school, doing something and just selling it. So I created a little business in high school and turned a lot of my enemies, a lot of the people that didn't like me, a lot of my foes, turned them into clients.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when I read your bio, I looked for formalized art education, and I didn't see it. Have you ever had any formal kind of education, any secondary school, any, you know, university, college, or specialized, you know, art training institute type stuff?
Yes, I went to Fashion Institute of Technology
Okay.
for fine arts.
Okay.
And I went there, and it was cool. I learned a lot, but it was really me doing the research. I found that what happened to me in high school with a lot of the teachers and how they treated me also happened to me in college with the teachers. There was not much diversity at all,
Right.
as far as the teachers are concerned. And now you have a college that's 90% females, right? And there's not many men in that school. And I'm a man's man. So, I get to the school and it's already, I am a fish
Right.
out of the water.
Right.
Already, the same way it's always been like that.
Yep.
So I see that, but I'm used to it. So it's nothing. But the teachers, the way they were treating me, and in my head, it would aggravate me, and it would put more of a battery. It would always call it the battery. My mother said, "Stop saying that." It's a battery in my back because I'm like, watch what I do.
Right.
And I would have a lot of confliction with these teachers because they were always trying to force me to do stuff their way. But I had my own vision, and I didn't want to do it their way because their way to me wasn't the best way. In my brain, I was a better artist than them.
Right.
And still to this day, I still think
Right.
the same way.
Right.
But they didn't like that, and they didn't understand how to help me. They were trying to force me to do something like most schools try to force you to do this, but not every child is the same. Not every person is the same.
Indeed.
You have to understand the dynamic of an individual, and no one would try to understand that. They would just get frustrated. They would think I'm a troublemaker, a problem child. You know, you're never going to make it. You're going to be a broke artist, this, that, all that stuff. And I still remember it to this day, but it's just like I use that as fuel, turn that negative energy and turn it into positive energy.
Now, in getting to know you briefly over the last month or so, and in preparing for this interview today, I know how important your faith is to you, and how you feel like you want to be an instrument of God, and how, you know, you want to be that brush in God's hand, right? To create artwork and to be, you know, creating brushstrokes of peace and of love and harmony and of healing and all the great things that you're doing right now. At what point in time in your life did your faith become like a guiding star in this journey of art?
So God has always been with me, always. Even when I didn't know it, he's been with me. And I know that because I'm still here. Both of my best friends are not here right now. They're gone.
Interesting.
Right? I have a lot of friends that got locked up, a lot of friends that aren't here.
Right.
I got family members that are locked up, like just crazy stuff that everybody goes through. But
Not everybody.
a lot of people,
Right.
a lot of people of color go through.
Right.
And so for me, I got into so many fights growing up. I had people jump me, try to stab me, all types of stuff. And I'm here, right? So I know, and I've talked to God plenty of times since I was a kid to now. And I wasn't sure if he existed, but he showed me when I was a kid that he existed. He showed me examples. I would ask for stuff, and he would show it to me. And still, you know, we're hard-headed people, so we're just like, show me more.
Right.
I need to see it again, right? I need to see it
Amen.
again.
Yep.
But I'm here, and this is the example. And so I know that he's always been there. But when I said I'm going to change, when I said I'm giving it all to you, was before my daughter was born, like a little bit before my daughter was born. And I said, you know, I've been so used to trying to do it myself and prove people wrong, but I would never I was never successful. I was always good, but I would never get over the hump. You know, I would never get the clients to rely. There was a lot of things that it was like, oh, Big E. I used to go by Big E. Big E I did this. I'm doing that. And it wasn't me that was doing it. It wasn't me that got me through those fights and thinking that I have all these crazy hands. You know, it wasn't me. It was God's angels and God's protection over me. So the same way he did that, that's when I realized, and I told myself around 2015, 2014, that I'm going to change my life, and I'm going to start saying to God be the glory. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be Andaluz the artist. I wouldn't be in the position talking to you right now in this situation.
Right. That's inspirational, brother. So I thank you for what you're doing, because you're making a difference in my life and in our community and in the world. And I know you're going to be a change agent. So congratulations on everything that you're doing.
Thank you, bro.
But let's talk about, how do you characterize your art, and how did you get into murals? Tell me a little bit about that.
How did I get into murals? It's just my life, right? Like, it just, from when I seen that mural in Richmond Hill to now, it's just an evolution. It's just life.
Right.
And picked up drawing, like I said, painting, picked up the airbrush. It went from me painting shirts to then people seeing stuff on canvas, to then people saying, hey, can you paint at my bar mitzvah? Okay. losing my mind because the airbrush not working, and I have to do 30 shirts, and my airbrush, like going through it and trial and error to then finally someone's calling me up saying, hey, I have my son's room and they want his name on a wall. Okay, but I airbrushed the whole wall because my story is a little different than a graffiti artist story, because people look at me, they're like, oh, he's a graffiti artist. I'm a street artist. I never started with graffiti. I wasn't tagging trains. I wasn't tagging buildings. A lot of my friends were. I learned with the airbrush first, so I started differently. And by the time I picked up a spray can and painted my first real mural for a company called Painted Pieces that's in Huntington, good friend of mine, I was freelancing for them in 2013, 14, and she wanted something cool on a building in Huntington. And I was like, I could do that. And I was trying to work for her company for a while, painting, but she looked at me as a graffiti artist because I was airbrushing. But I was like, I can do that stuff and better than the artist you do. But people don't realize. They look at you and they think, oh, he just... And so I started working for her doing graphics until she started seeing my resume, and she would go to Brooklyn and see all the street art in Brooklyn. And then she's like, hey, can you do this on the wall? I said, let's do it. And that was my first wall I painted with spray cans, and that changed my life because it was so easy. The transition from airbrush to spray cans, and the Robin Williams was a success in the town. And from that day forth, I was like, I'm using spray cans. That's what we're doing from now on.
Okay. Now, how did you get into music, man? So you are a jack of many trades, and you are truly blessed in so many artistic ways.
Thank you.
So tell our audience how you got into music and what type of musical projects you've had.
Like I said, birth, right? Since that heartbeat, right? That was it. That was always there. So this is another great story. So rest in peace, my friend Duran, right? My best friend that's not here no more. He's the best rapper I've ever known personally, just beyond his years wise. Me and him hated each other. He was from Amityville, I was from Queens. Both had issues. Got into a big fight, like really bad. And he would come on the bus and he would rap. He would freestyle. This is like 6th, 7th grade. Off the top of his head, just start dissing you. Dissing your whole outfit. Rhyming.
Yeah, I remember.
And people were like, ah!
Right.
Cracking up. And I didn't like people to mess with me, so I just stood by myself. So he picks on me, and he starts dissing me in a rap record. And the kids on the bus are looking at me, cracking up, like, oh, what are you going to do? And I didn't know, like, I always rapped and I would try to write rhymes, but I didn't know how to freestyle. So I used this song, because I'm a big Shaquille O'Neal fan, from a Shaq video game from Sega Genesis from back in the day. I knew no one on the bus knew that song because no one loved Shaq like I did. So I just used that verse.
Okay.
I used the Shaq verse.
Right.
And I rapped it like it was my verse
Right.
to Duran. And everybody's like, oh! And they're like cracking up at him and they're laughing at him. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? What's poppin'? Right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good. And he didn't know. He was shocked. Everybody's like, oh. But then I was like, damn. He's going to come at me tomorrow and every day after now because of this. So now I have to figure out how to rhyme these words.
Right.
And that was the start of me freestyling words and looking in the dictionary and seeing what rhymes and going back and forth and then doing mixtapes and stuff with him and his cousin and just freestyling, just chilling. And that's how, like, I started becoming into music. And then I took it a little more seriously, like everything else that I do. And now, you know, before I was just doing music because I wanted to get on the radio and be this big superstar. And I thought in my head that I could be this huge Latino rapper. And it wasn't God's plan. God's plan wasn't for me to be in that industry.
Right.
And I didn't know. And I was like, why? What is going on? Like, it wasn't his plan. And so it wasn't until I changed my life and I dedicated my life to him that he okayed me doing Christian hip hop. And the first time my song was ever on like Hot 97 or any radio station, it was a Christian hip hop song that they actually played on the radio station. So that just goes to show you the power of God. And when he doesn't want you to go somewhere, you could keep trying, but you're not going nowhere.
Right. Yeah, I talk about that often with my friends. I think I may have mentioned it on a podcast. So often we think, oh, we want to go here, God, And why can't we be successful here? And why can't we do this? And no, I want to be here. And God said, I want you over here.
Yep.
And we, no. I know what's best for me. I want to be over here. And God goes, no. You got to be here. And we don't listen, right? Or we don't follow. We're not faithful, or we're not doing what we need to do to truly take in that support. And it's inspirational, and it's just, I think, magical, and just so beautiful to hear that you are truly faithful. And you're allowing, the blessings and the grace to come your way, and you're finding so many different successes. So tell the audience the different types of things that you're involved in today, the various aspects of your business, the various aspects of art and music, and all the things that are going on, so that they can truly understand the amazing entrepreneur and the visionary that you are.
Thank you for those words as well. And for me, faithful is one thing, but I always tell people I'm just a man, right? So it's like, well, no one's perfect, so I just try to do what I can do, right? And I think that when it comes to the entrepreneurship and what I do, I'm at a place right now where I'm known for my murals. People know me as Andaluz, the artist. From that time doing the Robin Williams mural, to painting a Kobe mural, to Pokemon, to DMX, to all the rappers. Now this week I just wrapped up an Amanda Serrano mural, right, in Levittown, New York, for Hero Kickboxing. They came to me and they wanted something cool. And like a lot of my clients, they have an idea, but they're not really sure. And they come to me. And I'm like, that idea is cool, but I think this is going to really drive traffic, and this is going to be great for this time period. And I seen this guy's dynamic of his gym. He had a lot of females, and he had a lot of male art already on the walls. And I said, we should cater to your female fan base and your female audience. He loved the idea. And I was like, we should paint Amanda Serrano, and he already knows he's a boxing guy, and he's Puerto Rican. So it was just like, Amanda Serrano, let's go. I sent Amanda an Instagram message, and I let her know what we were doing. I've worked with her in the past, and she loved the idea. So this Thursday in Levittown, we'll be unveiling the mural of Amanda that I just finished at 6 o'clock in the morning today.
Oh, that's why you haven't slept.
Yeah. So we'll be unveiling that on Thursday at 5 p.m. And she will be there as well. And it's gonna be a great time. But that is what I'm known for, is my murals. But like you said, I also do music. I do Christian hip hop. So, we put out an album in 2021 called Welcome to the Quarantine. That has to do with the quarantine and the transition and all the thought processes and that. And now I'm working on more music projects, but not like a whole album. I'm just putting things out at a time. And as far as like more business is concerned, I have Andaluz, which is Andaluz the artist. And then I have Fashion, Art, and Music, which is FAM, which we have here. These FAM hats, this is the brand, Fashion, Art, and Music, if you see it in the back. And this is for you because you are family.
Thank you, sir.
You represent the Fashion, Art, and Music family, and you are family, and we are the chosen family. So that is yours. That's my other brand, Fashion, Art, and Music. We have the shop opening up very soon where we're selling street art supplies, streetwear, clothing, all types of cool stuff in Central Islip. And in the back of the warehouse, we have FAM Printing, where we're doing screen printing, embroidery, graphics, web design, logos. If you have a company or a brand or a restaurant and you need a whole, rebranding and you need something cool, we do all that stuff at our warehouse in Central Islip. So it's like all of my knowledge and insight, because I was doing screen printing before, and all the stuff that I've done and accumulated and, YouTube videos and editing, it all kind of came into one big ball of creativity. And also in Queens Village, FAM in Queens Village, we're doing classes with kids, teaching them how to spray paint and paint. So there's a lot of things going on, and trying to bring that creativity to Long Island, because I feel like we're lacking it. Not the people, but just the pushing of it.
Right.
I feel like there's a big void for art on the island, and it's always been controlled by the same people, let's just say. The art and how the art looks and how it's supposed to look on Long Island. And you're supposed to paint seashells and lighthouses and all types of stuff.
I love it. Yeah.
So now we're changing the dynamic.
Right.
I look at me as Andaluz the artist. Most of the artists on Long Island know who I am. And I take pride in being one of those people that stands up for artists getting paid, stands up for artists and diversity, and stands up for creativity and cool, innovative things, whether it's abstract or realism. Everybody needs art. Without art, we wouldn't be in this room right now.
Right.
These graphics wouldn't be here.
Right. So I happen to be on the board of Teatro Yelba Bruja, which is in Bayshore, and it's an arts organization that delves in different areas of art: spoken word, painting, sculpture, all kinds of different areas of art, and helps young people to impact social change through
That's
the
Margarita?
arts. Yeah, Margarita.
Yeah, shout out to her. Shout out to her. She's doing beautiful things.
Yeah,
we need more people like her.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so I'm sure that there needs to be more collaborations with
Correct.
you and Margarita and the Teatro organization, if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that would be great, to get those.
So I can definitely assist with that, being on the board, and I consider Margarita like a little sister who can be somewhat annoying at times, but her passion is second to none.
Yeah.
And she's truly made a difference. And when it comes to impacting young people, the foundation, Liga de Justicia, would love to partner with you, would love to contract you, to support your small business, to support your family-owned business, right? Because your family members are also involved.
Correct.
So talk to me about that.
It's God, right? Like, fam, I've had that for 10 years now. Fashion, art, and music. So fashion, art, and music, fam. Like, leader of the fam. In my rap songs, I was talking about fam 10 years ago. And so I'm trying to open up this fashion, art, and music shop. A good friend of mine was supposed to run the shop, who still will be. He unfortunately got sick. And so we had to push back opening up the spray paint supply shop. I needed to figure out a way. Last year, for a lot of people, it was difficult financially monetizing things, because it was a hard year for a lot of people last year. So I had to figure out a way to pay for this warehouse space that I was using. It was really to store my art, but it's a decent space, and I wasn't making money off of it. I was actually just spending money. So I said, let's open up print. Let's go back to printing. That's what I know. That's how I started, was printing T-shirts. And, we're supposed to partner up with someone. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. Still cool with him. But I'm like, man, I have all this stuff, invested so much into this thing. And my father, as usual, he always supports me. My mother, as usual, they always support me. And that's the most important thing, is for parents to be there for your kids, always support your kids, and for the kids to see, how important that is. So they were there, and they're like, let's do this. And so they are running the printing shop, and we're like moving like a well-oiled machine. And they're printing, and we're doing designs, and we're getting orders, and we're shipping stuff out, and all the stuff that I kind of do myself, it alleviates a lot of that. Because as an artist, I'm a known street artist. I'm painting, but I only paint maybe 10% of my week I spend painting. And I should be spending more time painting, but I'm so busy doing emails, editing videos, sending, calling people, doing press releases, doing podcast shows. But yes, so I want to be painting a little more,
Right. So talk to our audience. Where can they find you on the internet? What social media platforms? What are your names? How do they find you? And how can our audience help support you? Are you looking for volunteers? Are you looking for donations of in-kind donations of services or support? Talk to the audience and let them know where you are, how you can be contacted, and how they can help you and support you.
Okay, so I'm Andaluz the Artist. You can find me at andaluztheartist.com. That's ANDALUZ, theartist.com. On Instagram, on TikTok, on X, at Andaluz the Artist. And then as far as the printing, it's Fam Printing, FAM Printing.com. The same thing on Instagram, the same thing on TikTok, and then fashion, art, and music. They're all connected. It's all one. We're all a family. That's what the fam is. And how you guys can help is just continue to support everybody that's been supporting. Thank you for your support. I truly appreciate all of you guys. Long Island, we are here and we are fam, and that's what it is. And if you want to support a local business, you need art, you need to drive traffic, I'm here to help you, and my team, we're here to help you.
Okay, awesome. Now, before we close, I always like my guests to kind of give some words of wisdom, some inspirational quotes, some ideas that our young people or even older people like me can take to heart to make a difference or to keep on striving, being resilient, persevering through whatever challenges come about. Talk to my audience or talk to our audience today and give them some advice about your life, your journey, and how you encourage them.
All right. Well, my advice would be consistency is key. You guys heard that, but as I get older, I see it much more. Being consistent, you will be better. Every day you get better and better and better. No one's perfect, but you will be better. So be consistent, be kind. A smile can change anything. A smile can change a dynamic, whether you're in the hood or whether you're at like a high-end restaurant. Smiling is always a plus. And most importantly, keep God first. God is real. I know we lack God in everything now, and they try to take him out of everything, but God is in everything. And so when you lack God, you lack your own self. So keep God first. Continue to search. If you're going through issues, pray, and he's the hero of prayer. So that's what I could tell you. And without him, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to do all these amazing things.
God bless you. God bless you, Andaluz. So last question. If somebody were to ask you, in your senior years, like me, right? Once you get old and gray, and maybe you're getting close to retirement, they would ask you, how did you use your art? What would your answer be? I use my art to do what in my life?
I use my art to inspire. That's any artist. If you're a true artist at heart, you use your art to inspire, and that's the greatest thing. I said a prayer to God this morning when I left. When I finished that job at 6 a.m., and as soon as I got in the car, my body was hurting. I was tired. I hadn't slept. I got in the car, and I said a prayer, and I said, thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, God, because you allow me to do what I love, and you allow me to work hard and get this job done. So that to me is the most important thing right there.
Well, you've definitely used your art for positive change. You've used your art to communicate different feelings, different cultural aspects of your lifetime. You've used your art to inspire and to just make a difference in so many diverse communities. And I believe in you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I want to let you know that we are proud to have you on the champion circle as a true champion. You are part of our chosen family, and now I'm part of yours. So, you got to deal with Uncle Mark. He's a little crazy, but it's all good. And your mother, it's a small world, right? So your mother and I worked together at Verizon back in the day when I was a little more of an activist, and I was perhaps a little not as diplomatic as I needed to be. But I was representing for her. I was representing for her organization, La Telefonica, and I was representing for our company and trying to make sure that company was doing the right thing when it came to issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And although those are all dirty words now to some people, my passion remains in that. Yeah. And I see that your passion remains in that diversity, kind of cultural promotion, and that impact of making a difference. So I thank you for being here today. I thank you for sharing your story. I ask that you continue and to do what you do, and I'm confident you will. But more importantly, that you continue to collaborate with us So on behalf of Liga de Justicia Abogados, the Liga de Justicia Foundation, I want you to know that I and all of us here have your back. We will be there to support you. We want you to be successful at this event this week, although by the time this podcast is published, that will be in the past.
Correct.
But we encourage people to go to that location to see your art and to be inspired by it. So mention to our audience once again what the piece is and where it will be showcased.
This is the Amanda Serrano mural located at Hero Kickboxing in Levittown. That's 148 Gardeners Place or Boulevard in Levittown, New York. And that will be this Thursday, March 13th, which will be in the past because we are living in the future. And that's what's going on right now.
Right. So Back to the Future.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies. I'm showing my age. But nonetheless, I want to thank Andaluz, the artist. I want to thank his family for being here, for supporting him, for making him the great man that he is. I want to thank him for his inspirational work, for his passion, for his dedication to his blessings and his grace. I want to thank our audience for always tuning in and listening and hearing about the great individuals that we're showcasing and highlighting. And I want to ask you to stay tuned for more great stories, but more importantly, to support amazing individuals like Andaluz. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.